Sup, patrons? How you guys doing? Welcome back. And of course, if you are a new patron to the channel, this is Lovecraft episode 3. This is where me and Apocalypse, how you doing, bro?
What's up, boys?
This is where we dive into the story. This is where we dive into, well, basically everything that I either can't cover in videos or, you know, just on the day these things launch and it's something that we can talk about. I don't know if this is going to make it into a video. It probably will, because our very first topic, Apocalypse, for the day is the Sylvanas raid encounter. We have to talk about this. About 4 hours ago, this dropped on Wowhead with just so much data mining coming out around this fight. So obviously we knew that there is going to be a Sylvanas raid encounter. It is the final encounter for Chains of Domination, the raid on Torghast. But it's really to do with the final stage of that fight. Now, over on Wowhead, they show a number of things that could be, shall we say, problematic, right? So we know that there are screenshots from the raid that show the Arbiter's room, right, with a completely different sort of skybox with chains going around it. So that's in the data mine files for the raid. We also then have sort of weird skyboxes that's being added to Oribos. And one of these skyboxes is called Arbiter Sky Raid Fight. That's the literal name of one of these screenshots. What's your thoughts? First and foremost, your initial thoughts to that fight, the fight with Sylvanas, and then how you think it plays out, given everything that we know except for the final part where the jailer marches on the Arbiter. What is your initial thoughts on that fight?
So my initial thought, like gut reaction, is, oh my god, please pay the art team more. Because holy fuck, this looks amazing.
Yes.
But other than that, I mean, it's pretty much exactly what we knew was coming anyway, right? We always knew that the jailer was going to go and attack Oribos and get to the Arbiter, and it's the final key. You can't have an expansion where you just don't even get to the final phase, right?
True.
I'm kind of surprised it's already happening in 9.1 though. Like that is something I was surprised about. I was expecting it to be the 9.3 raid that we would have the jailer and the Arbiter, and then he gets the final key and boom, 10.0, we've got a big old fucking threat. Like, we actually lose an expansion, but we're only going to lose a patch.
It seems to me that this expansion is going to take a very different turn than what we initially thought, right? So the initial thoughts for all of us is Zuval is the bad guy. He's the guy that's going to try this whole expansion to get into Oribos, to kill all of the Eternal Ones or take their sigils, as we've now learned. And then he's going to unlock death, right? He's going to unlock basically the Shadowlands so that it can do pretty much what it was meant to do at the start. Blizzard seems to have a very different direction that this expansion goes in.
Yeah, definitely.
My biggest question here is throwing in now, right, what we know about the final phase. Seemingly, the jailer gets to Oribos. Now, there's a couple of major things that needs to be discussed here. First and foremost, this means that the jailer's chains have finally been broken. Either that, or he managed to pull Oribos into the maw. We do see screenshots, and hopefully Alex will put those screenshots up. We do see screenshots of chains actually going to Oribos, to the jail, to the Arbiter's room. So it could be that he chained Oribos and pulled it into the maw. Since he can't escape, he's just going, well, fuck you, then you'll all come to me, right?
But see, now that begs the question, and I know it's something that we've all speculated about before, but is he pulling it in for the first time, or is he pulling it back in? Because from the way that Torghast looks, and you said it yourself on stream as well when you were looking through the data mine files, is that it looks like Oribos just slots in, right? It definitely looks like Oribos was part of Torghast at one point.
Yeah.
So is it possible that he's now just kind of bringing back his original seat home again?
So I believe I believe fundamentally that it is all coming home. We have Denathrius obviously saying that for the Banished One to reclaim what was once his, right? And there's no reason for that to be a lie. Denathrius is one of the Eternal Ones. He's been there since the very beginning. He was there at the banishment. And for him to say that means that he knows they did something to the Banished One that took away his toys, so to speak.
Yeah.
They removed these toys from him. And he is reclaiming it. He's taking back what once belonged to him, which in my opinion is all of the Shadowlands. It belonged to him. It's his fucking Shadowlands, and he's gonna take it. The question becomes, these chains that he is using, based on the size of these chains, and we know that there's that ominous little reveal, which was literally at the beginning of the expansion, where it says the jailer has managed to turn his chains into a weapon.
Yeah.
Based on the size of these chains, I am sort of wondering about the size of this guy, right? What we've seen up until now might not be his true size.
Exactly, yeah. And it was actually something that we saw in the Shadowlands reveal cinematic that I was pointing out frantically at the time, and no one was paying attention as usual.
Yeah.
But the braziers, the standing braziers that are as tall as your character, they don't come above his toe. Just let that sink in. You are as tall as his fucking toe. He's huge.
I mean, there was that, I remember right at the beginning when we had data mined spoilers for Shadowlands, right? So we're going back months at this point. There was this moment where Wowhead started data mining the sizes of these creatures. And in one of the screenshots, you had Zuval standing next to Ragnaros and next to some of the other Titans, where the Titans were basically coming up to like his fucking knee, right? And he was just towering above them.
The best comparison, though, the one to really nail it home, is N'Zoth, right? He's meant to be the size of full, like, continents and things. We were literally running through this guy as part of the entire raid, and yet he was only coming up to, like, the nipple of the jailer. This guy is fucking massive. Like, there's no way that we singularly are going to be able to beat this guy. Like, even as a 40-man fucking raid, we're going to be mosquitoes stabbing a fucking elephant.
I mean, just based on power level, right? We've already discussed this. We've discussed this to death. But based on power level alone, we know that every single one of the Eternal Ones fear him. Even united. Even as a united front, they don't believe that they can beat him once he gets out of the maw. So, them chaining him up into the maw was sort of a Hail Mary. It was the...
Yeah, basically.
They couldn't defeat him, so they managed to sort of capture him. And that was it. That was the only thing they could really do. And then, of course, he became smarter and he learned how to use his chains. And eventually those chains, the very chains that they chained him with, became his weapons of choice. He started using these to gain more influence. Now, of course, he's pulled closer Korthia, which holds a secret of some kind. Again, the attendants say to us, the player, when we first arrive there, that the jailer is after their most prized secret. But then when Bolvar arrives, they say, the jailer is looking for something, we don't know what. Right? So, they clearly know what, right?
Yeah.
They know what he wants.
So it could be an oversight of Blizzard. I mean, that's not entirely impossible that they've messed up the fucking lines.
Yeah.
As Furorius pointed out, they've actually got the wrong Mograine as the horseman.
All right.
In one of their quest lines. They have Alexandros, not Darian.
Okay.
That's a big lore fuck up right there. And yet nobody was fucking pointing it out whatsoever. And it's kind of disturbing that Blizzard can fuck up that badly over something that simple, especially when kind of extrapolating that to the bigger storylines. Is what do they fuck up? Like,
I think they were lucky in that when this was happening, speculation was still very much in its infancy. Speculation in World of Warcraft really only started in Legion. That's when myself
Yeah.
switched to speculation. Pyromancer switched before me to speculation. So it became... That's when speculation really took off, and suddenly you have almost every YouTuber jumping on the speculation train.
Yeah.
So before that, there was really no speculation. I'm assuming if that happened today, we would point it out like we're doing here. They say he's after our most prized position, and then they say, we don't know what he wants, right? So clearly speculation has come a very long way. And obviously it's going to force Blizzard to adapt, right? They're gonna have to become more careful with how exactly they aim sort of their lore, if that makes sense.
Oh, this is a new screenshot from the PTR where they've got the wrong horseman in. Hold on, I'll try and find it for you. Rory's posted into War Room.
Right, so it is PTR, which is lucky.
Yeah,
because there's still time to fix it, and hopefully they will fix it. I don't know if this is... So let's imagine that it isn't a mistake. It means that the attendants know exactly what Zuval is after. The fact that Korthia is also... So a lot of people have sort of spoken about this. Korthia is this very small area. You know, it really is underwhelming. I don't know if you've been to Korthia yet.
I haven't looked at really any of the PTR yet, because it's in that stage of infancy where so much of it's going to be wrong and a massive bait. And I don't want to get excited about something that's not coming again, because fucking Galakron on the PTR for 9.0, and where is my boy? Like,
well, I think Galakron is going to make an appearance at some point.
Oh, I know when he's coming. I know for a fact when he's coming, but
okay.
Yeah, I wanted him sooner. I've been waiting for Galakron for a long fucking time.
I think we've all been. I mean, especially since BlizzCon, when Blizzard sort of confirmed that Galakron is the first sort of example of necromancy on Azeroth. It's the very first time that necromancy was actually used on Azeroth. That was sort of a massive reveal that went under the radar for most people. Most people just go, oh, okay, cool, Galakron's coming back. But the implications is that Galakron may have been, to some extent, related to Zuval, to death, to the creation or the extension of influence of death on Azeroth. It was the very first time that death made an appearance on Azeroth. Now, back to, just to finish off this conversation, what is the end result of the final encounter of Chains of Domination? Do you believe that Zuval will kill the Arbiter?
I don't know. I don't think it's going to be a killing, so to speak. I think it's actually going to be more of a distribution of power change again. So not necessarily deconstructing the construct, but maybe taking the seat or the power source, so to speak. Because ultimately, I think you can't really kill a construct. If you try and break a construct, you can always rebuild it. But I think the Arbiter is definitely a construct. So I don't think there is any way that the jailer can actually kill it, but I do think there will be a way to remove its power, remove its energy, and make it defunct or dormant, and keep it properly dormant. So I think that's really what's going to happen. We're going to see a kind of metamorphosis, a change from the jailer into something new.
Okay. I sort of agree with that. But in terms of killing, it is just the taking offline of the construct, which Wowed aptly points out. The jailer is sort of the opposite, the polar opposite of the Arbiter. She has the hole in her chest as well, filled with an orb of some kind, whereas the jailer has a hole in his chest, but is filled with nothing. To my mind, the jailer is attacking Oribos. He takes that orb and places it back where it belonged in his chest, basically, which fundamentally gives him back the power of the Shadowlands. Whoever has that orb, shall we call it, controls the Shadowlands.
So there is another option. There is one more option, which is a lot more entertaining than I like to give Blizzard credit for. They do seem to like going for the easier story road, which I don't blame them. They've got a lot to work with. However, there are some weird things about the Arbiter's Orb compared to the Jailer's Chest, is that the size difference of the two, it doesn't overly make sense that it would fit in there unless it were to spread and power up, because he has control. But it's the Eye of the Jailer. When you're running through the moor, you have that icon at the top of your screen, and it looks exactly the same as the symbol in his chest. We know that eye is actually with Odin currently. That was the eye he swapped. He got an eye to peer into the Shadowlands, and he gave his eye into the Shadowlands. And we know that the Eye of the Jailer we have currently, the boss, is Odin's eye.
Yes.
So,
are you certain about the swap, though? Are you certain
I am
that
100% sure, yeah.
Is this based on insider knowledge or just based on...
No, I think it's actually within the lore of the deal itself, is that he traded an eye for the ability to see into the Shadowlands. That
is true,
a one-to-one thing. And we know that the Jailer's eye can definitely see a lot more than we can, so it only makes sense that it's a swap, basically.
There's something very interesting about that eye that definitely needs to be explored. Odin's eye, that is, not the Jailer's eye. Because based on at least early PTR knowledge and playing through the PTR at the start, Odin's eye, the Jailer's eye at this point, can't see into Korthia. It is limited to the mall. It literally can't move into Korthia. The question is, why? Thank you so much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. I really do appreciate it. And if you want more content like this, please consider becoming a patron. Patrons get a lot of early access content as well as the weekly podcast, Lovecraft. This was from episode 3. So if you want exclusive content, but more importantly, you really want to help out the channel, you want to help the channel grow, and you want the channel to become something truly majestic, consider joining the team over on Patreon. For those of you that just enjoy the videos, that is perfectly fine. Consider hitting that like button, hitting that subscribe button, and wait around for even more content. Peace out, fam.